Hello, welcome back, and let's continue with our flange connection here. So that connects the bottom and column or segment and the second segment right here. So we have a flange already created here, and the reason why we are using this is because if we create another flange on top here, COMOSYS will not detect the top here as end plate. It will detect another bottom here that will be detected automatically as end plate. So what we're trying to do is to customize or creating this flange connection manually using a macro here. So the macro we just created, the plate, the flange we just created here is what we want to mirror to attach to this one so that they can be bolted together to create a good connection right here. So what do we do here? We have one thing to consider. We have this member, we can select on it and hide it. We want to hide on that so that we can have good visibility of this. So if I press Alt D here, you can be able to see I have a point here and a point here. These 2 points will help us in defining the mirror line here. So how did I create the points here? I created a point right at the center here. I'm just enable that spot from the center of this column, and snapshot that spot and give it an offset of maybe 200 to 100 there, just to define the mirror line. Now that has been shown. I've showed you that, and just press Alt repeatedly so that we go to a different draw value. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select on this member. I'm going to select on this member, then right click and come to select assembly. So the whole assembly has been selected. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select on this column just to do away with it so that I have this flange flange remaining in place. So since I have this flange remaining in place, it's still not enough. Is because the XYZ plane is in the wrong direction. So we have to reposition our XYZ plane in a position that will favor our mirroring action or mirroring tool. Now I'll come to view, I'll come to edit, then from edit I'll be able to get these options here, more options. And if I click on that, I'll be able to place my XYZ plane on this flange right there, so that will be okay. So you can see my work plane is there. So the next thing I'm going to do, first of all, disable this joint here. Then right click and come to special copy and pick on mirror. Then I want to define my mirror line from that spot to that spot here. So once I've defined my mirror line there, I'll go ahead and click run. So if I click run, I'll give it some time to bring that information. If I close that and maybe click on empty screen, you'll be able to see I have the flanges already mirrored together. And if I now bring back my previous member, you'll be able to see I have the flange connection created perfectly. So I can take back my XYZ plane to global by default by clicking on this G here, and that will go back to its original place. So let's try if this is an assembly. If I click on that and right click, come to select assembly, you'll be able to say this is an assembly together with the base plate right here. So this will be welded together and transported to site for installation as a unit. Same to this one on top here. If I select on that, it will be a different unit. So we can also copy this upward by taking the actual distance from the bottom, from the top here to up to up here. So that's how you create that. So the next thing we're going to do is just to create another one here. I'll come to steel and come to column here and just snap on top here. And remember, this one was 5 meters. So what I'm going to do is maybe just to is maybe is very simple. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just select on this, select on assembly, and I'll disable that, and I'll come here, press Control and select an assembly. Let's try if it will select an assembly. It will not detect that. So it will pick one at a time. Right click and come to select an assembly. So we are going to pick this, move it up by, we are going to move it up by 6 meters. So let me just right click and come to special copy here and copy it upward by 6 meters upward. And let me reset that and come here and just type 6 meters, because the height of our column here on the second segment was 6 meters. So if I click on that and see where it will go, and if I close that, I'll be able to see I have that in place right there, 6 meters. So if I click on that spot and try select this and check whether it is an assembly, and we'll be able to see it is an assembly. So that's how simple it is. So if I select this once again, right click and come to special copy and select an assembly, I can remove that from the selection, then just right click here and come here and copy it upward at a distance of 6 meters and click right there. So let's see what happens right there. So let's give it some time to copy all the components, and we'll see what happens. If I close that and move up here, I'll be able to see we have this in place, but there's some components that are not necessarily needed in place. So it has copied this one here, the bottom end, because we didn't isolate the bottom one. We didn't remove the base plate from the assembly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reselect it once again and select it as assembly. And if I disable this and come here and disable remove that from the assembly, remove all this from the assembly, because if we retain them, it will follow you wherever you go. At that distance, you've just keyed in that you intend to copy that, the other flange at 6 meters. It will follow the same selection. So let me right click and come to special copy here and pick on linear. So once I'm done, so I'm going to just go ahead and click copy. So I'll give you some time to copy the flange connection to the next segment at a distance of 6 meters here. So you can see we have this in place. Just select part of that and rotate. So this is how you create it, and the bolts will be placed right there. So let's confirm whether this is an assembly. Select on that, right click and come to an assembly. That's an assembly here. That will be assembled on top of that, and this will be assembled on top of this. So you can see it is a full assembly here. So this is as simple as this. So we've created the column for our 10 by 12 portrait billboard that will be the canvas steel frame will be tilted at an angle, but it will be both sides displaying the canvas advert that will be gotten from from advertising company. So that's how we create the column for outdoor advertising billboard of 10 by 12 portrait type, and the same applies to the landscape type. The landscape type tends to have a shorter column because the wider side tends to the shorter side tends to be 10 meters. So this one, the longer side is 12 meters. So we need to stretch all the way to full height to provide adequate positions for supporting the canvas steel frame. So let's be done on how we will be creating the frame for the canvas here, the steel frame for the canvas here. So let's be done. Bye bye, and I hope you try that. And if you don't have a license for for COMOSYS, please just reach me out. I'll be able to guide you on how you can get a license for COMOSYS so that you try this by yourself. Bye bye. Let's meet then.